At the big pitch meeting, my manager smashed my prototype in front of the client and screamed, "This is garbage, we'll start over with a real team." The client looked me dead in the eye and asked, "Can I have your contact?" I handed her my card. I was taken off the project. Then she made a move that made him beg. The sound of splintering plastic and twisting metal echoed through the conference room as Trent's fist came crashing down on my prototype. 6 months of 14-hour workdays, skipped holidays, and obsessive detail exploded into fragments across the polished marble floor. My breath seized as titanium hinges, handcrafted joints, and pressure-responsive gears rolled under chairs and toward the walls. "This," Trent declared, his voice sharp and cutting, "is garbage." Then, like a switch flipping, he turned toward the woman at the head of the table, his tone suddenly silk smooth. "We'll reboot the project, with a serious team this time." The woman's name was Nadine Rios, a high-level program director with the Global Access Foundation. She hadn't said much during my presentation. Now she glanced down at the shattered remains of my prototype, then back up at Trent's smug expression. Finally, her eyes landed on me. "Do you have a personal contact?" she asked calmly. The question stunned me. My hands fumbled in my pocket for one of the business cards I had printed myself. Because Trent never ordered the official ones for me, even after I was promoted. As I handed it over, I caught a flicker of irritation cross Trent's face. Nadine tucked my card into her blazer without a word. "Thank you, I'll be in touch." As soon as she left, Trent stood over me like a shark circling wounded prey. "Leave it," he said, motioning to the broken pieces. "Maintenance will handle it. These parts are custom machined for a dead project," he snapped. The design review committee agreed. "Your mechanical approach is impractical. We're pivoting to electronic systems, real solutions." My stomach dropped. "You told me the review meeting was next week." He adjusted his cufflinks and smirked. "I moved it up, executive decision." He turned away. "Clear your head. Starting tomorrow, you'll be supporting Clara's team on the diagnostics suite." That was a demotion, and he knew it. But here's the thing, I wasn't just some overambitious rookie. My name is Delaney Brooks, Mechanical Systems Engineer. And what I built wasn't just a prototype, it was the future. Before I tell you what happened next, do me a favor if you've ever had your work sabotaged or stolen. Hit that like button and drop a comment with the city you're from. I want to know where my fellow builders and fighters are. Now back to the real story. I joined Northfield Engineering Group right out of grad school, drawn to their mission, innovation for the underserved. It sounded perfect. My mother had worked in rural clinics where equipment failed every time the power cut out. I wanted to design tech that didn't rely on electricity, devices that worked anywhere, anytime, no batteries required. For a while, I thought I was doing that. Then Trent Holcomb showed up as the new director of engineering. He was the kind of guy who wore $1,000 shoes to a community clinic site visit and bragged about modernizing everything. Translation: flashy electronic solutions that looked great in PowerPoints and failed in actual use. He considered my mechanical designs outdated, and for 18 months, he made it his mission to bury them. 3 days after the prototype smashing disaster, I got a call from a blocked number. "This is Delaney," I answered, my voice still hoarse from the sleepless nights. "This is Nadine Rios," came the reply. "I'd like to see more of your work, privately." I hesitated. "I'm not sure what I can share." "Everything I've done at Northfield." "I'm not asking for IP," she said quickly. "I want to see your mind, concepts only." We met in a converted warehouse near Spokane's old industrial district. She showed me around a modest but well-equipped workshop funded by her foundation. I brought nothing but a sketchbook and some rough mock-ups drawn by hand. Nadine wasn't just a client. She ran the Global Access Foundation, which distributed mobility and assistive tech in over 70 countries. "Your approach," she said, flipping through my sketches, "solves problems we've had for decades." Then she dropped a bombshell. "We want you to present at the International Mobility Summit next month." I froze. "Trent will be there." Her expression didn't change. "Does that concern you?" "It should," I admitted, but honestly, not anymore. For 3 weeks, I lived 2 lives. By day, I followed orders at Northfield, buried in diagnostics tests and ignored. By night, I came alive in Nadine's workshop. I rebuilt my original prototype from memory, better, smarter, tougher, with help from on-site repair specialists like Miko, who'd seen what failed in the real world. This joint clogs with dust, Miko told me, tapping one part with a wrench. Breaks after 6 months. So I redesigned it that night, sealed bearings, easy to clean, no special tools needed. I didn't just recreate my design, I perfected it. By the night before the conference, I had 4 working prototypes, all mechanical, all built from scratch, all designed to last decades without a single watt of electricity. The morning of the summit, Spokane was hit by a thunderstorm so fierce it rattled my truck windows as I drove to the expo hall. I told Northfield I was sick. Fever, no questions asked. By noon, my display was prepped, hidden behind partition walls Nadine had arranged. At 2:30 sharp, she took the stage. Today, she said, we highlight solutions that serve real people, not just stockholders. Then she looked directly at me. Our first demonstration comes from someone who refused to accept the limits placed on her. The partitions opened. Gasps. There, under the lights, stood my machines, rougher looking than the sleek displays around me, but solid. Functional. Real. I stepped forward and met Trent's gaze across the crowd. His expression went from confusion, to fury, to pure panic. I looked away and began. These devices are built for communities with limited access to power and repair infrastructure. They don't need batteries, electricity, or special parts, just hands, tools, and time. I demonstrated each design, one by one. A wheelchair that adjusted to terrain, a walker that adapted to the user's weight and posture, a modular limb system with snap-lock joints for ease of repair. The crowd was electric. Procurement officers asked about licensing. NGOs left business cards. Even government reps took notes. Trent tried to push forward through the crowd, but no one made space for him. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. An older man approached with Nadine. It was Ronan Keller, Northfield's founder. The guy who hired me right out of school. I hadn't seen him in years. These are extraordinary, he said, inspecting the joints. Which is strange, considering your manager told us this entire mechanical direction was dead and buried. What? Trent said your work failed internal tests months ago. I couldn't speak. I was too stunned. Nadine stepped in. He claimed Delaney's designs were his. He used them as an example of what not to do. My blood ran cold. This wasn't just sabotage, it was theft. Worse, he'd poisoned my name in every industry circle that mattered. And that was only the beginning. Ronan's expression turned stone cold. I built this company to push boundaries, not protect bureaucrats playing politics with innovation. He handed me a card. I still sit on the board, we'll talk soon. That night, my phone buzzed nonstop. Unknown numbers, LinkedIn requests, emails pouring in. Word had spread fast, but I ignored it all. I needed space. Until the 5th call came in from Trent. I didn't want to answer, but I did. What the hell were you thinking? He growled. You mean showing the world what you tried to kill? You violated your contract. You stole proprietary work. I built those with my own hands, in a workshop you've never set foot in, based on designs from my graduate thesis. You remember the one you never read? He paused. I could almost hear the gears grinding. The board is asking questions, he finally said, quieter. Look, maybe I overreacted. I'm willing to collaborate if you help smooth things over. We could co-author something for the foundation. Share credit. He was desperate. But then he added, don't ruin this for both of us. That sentence burned like acid in my chest. Trent, I said flatly, you shattered my work in front of a client, lied about me to leadership, told the world my ideas failed, and now that they succeeded you want to cut. He didn't answer. I hung up. The next morning, Kira, one of my few allies at Northfield, showed up at my apartment, soaked in rain, out of breath. You need to come in now, she said. I'm still sick, remember? No, she said. Trent's holding an emergency division meeting, says you committed intellectual property theft. Security is clearing out your workstation. What? He's trying to erase your tracks, claims you reverse-engineered company projects. My stomach twisted. I grabbed my jacket. By the time we got to headquarters, the lobby was buzzing. On a Saturday, unheard of, the guard at the front desk looked nervous. Miss Brooks, you're wanted upstairs. Kira squeezed my arm before I stepped into the elevator. On the top floor, another guard was waiting. Just you, he said. Mr. Keller requested privacy. He led me into the executive conference room, and it was already in session. At the head of the table sat Ronan Keller. To his right, Nadine Rios. To his left, Northfield's corporate counsel. And across from them was Trent. He looked like a fox in a trap. Pale, rigid, sweaty. "Delaney," Ronan said, motioning for me to sit. "We're here to clarify the origin of the designs demonstrated at the summit." Trent jumped in before I could speak. Her prototypes were built using knowledge and methods developed under my direction. Any innovations she showed stem from internal research projects, some of which are confidential. She circumvented our protocols and leaked sensitive material. Ronan looked at me calmly. "Delaney," I opened my folder and slid it across the table. "My graduate thesis, dated 3 years before I joined Northfield. Inside, you'll find detailed designs for every mechanical principle I demonstrated, including stress tests, gear ratios, and friction metrics." The legal counsel, a woman named Sandra, skimmed through it. Her eyebrows twitched upward. "These match her prototypes," she said. "Almost exactly." Nadine pushed a tablet across the table. "We've independently reviewed her academic work. It predates all internal projects Trent references." Trent looked like he was choking on air. Ronan stared at him. "You told the board these ideas failed. You said they were your team's, and now they're being offered global licensing deals." Trent's voice rose. "It was a strategy. The market demands electronics." "No," Ronan cut in, voice sharp now. "The market demands solutions, and you buried one." Nadine folded her arms. "You told people Delaney's work was abandoned because it failed. But you never tested it, you destroyed it." "I destroyed a faulty prototype. You destroyed a threat," I said quietly. Trent turned red. "This is insane. I made decisions based on the company's interests." Ronan leaned forward. "And in doing so, you lied to your team, to the board, and to our partners. Sandra, prepare the separation paperwork." Trent jumped up. "You're firing me? Over some pet project?" Ronan didn't flinch. "Over abuse of authority, IP misrepresentation, and sabotaging a designer who delivered what you couldn't." Sandra stood. "We'll need your access credentials and security badge." Trent's eyes darted between us, a man watching his career bleed out. "This isn't over," he hissed. "You're right," I said. "It's not." He stormed out, slamming the glass door. The room was silent for a long moment. Then Ronan turned to me. "I failed you," he said. "That ends now." He slid a new document across the table. "I want to launch a new division, mechanical first design. You'll lead it. You pick your team. No filters." "No politics," I blinked. "Full autonomy," Nadine nodded. "And our foundation will match development funding. What you built, it's exactly what the world needs." I sat back in my chair. The rain outside had stopped. The city looked different, brighter maybe. But I wasn't done yet. "Before I sign anything," I said, "I want access to every rejected proposal in the last 5 years. Every intern's idea, every shelved design. I want to find the other voices Trent silenced." Ronan's smile was slow and proud. "Deal." 3 days later, I walked into a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows and a nameplate that read, "Delaney Brooks, Director, Mechanical Systems Division." I should have felt unstoppable. But the truth, I was exhausted. Because cleaning up the wreckage Trent left behind wasn't just about firing one manipulative boss. It was about unraveling a whole network of buried talent, silenced voices, and projects that had been ghosted out of existence. And the first folder I opened, it nearly made me sick. There it was. A full concept file labeled Adaptive Crank System Prototype Denied, archived by TH, submitted by an intern. Miles N. Duckwey. I remembered him. Quiet. Brilliant. He'd left the company last year, claiming grad school called him back. But now I knew the truth. His work had been shelved, unreviewed, unacknowledged, no feedback, just archived. He never stood a chance under Trent. That night I called the number listed in the original submission file. "Hello," a cautious voice answered. "Miles, this is Delaney Brooks. I was your supervisor's supervisor back at Northfield. I read your adaptive crank design." Long pause. "You're calling me, why?" "Because it's genius, and I want to build it." Silence. Then, "You're serious?" "Serious enough to fly you to Spokane by Monday." By Wednesday, he was sketching on a whiteboard in my new lab. And Miles wasn't the only one. Over the next few weeks, the lab transformed into something electric. Kira joined full-time. We brought on Miko from Nadine's field team. Then a quiet mechanical prodigy named Rian Velez, who had once been fired by Northfield's old leadership for disruptive criticism. Translation. She told Trent his solar-powered hip brace was going to overheat in dry climates. She was right. I gave her the corner station in the lab. As the weeks turned into months, we built more than devices. We built redemption. Then came the ripple effects. First, a major healthcare NGO in South America placed a bulk order for over 2,000 terrain-adaptive wheelchairs. Then, an African coalition ordered a fleet of water-resistant walkers based on Rian's designs. Our stuff wasn't pretty, it wasn't sleek, but it worked. No batteries, no circuits, just smart mechanics and stubborn grit. Then came the industry articles. Is Northfield ditching electronics? Mechanical renaissance. A return to basics that actually work. But the headline that made me sit up. Ex-director Trent Holcomb under ethics review after false IP claims surface. Turns out, I wasn't the only engineer he had tried to bury. 4 whistleblowers came forward. One had emails. Another had meeting recordings. The board launched an internal investigation. And though Trent had fled to a smaller competitor in Boise, he was now being sued by Northfield for breach of contract, misrepresentation, and retaliation. Karma wasn't done with him yet, but just as the dust began to settle, Nadine called with another twist. I need you in DC next week, she said. It's classified but big. Government-level big. Classified? You'll want to be there. When I arrived, I was escorted into a windowless room at the Department of Veterans Affairs. Inside, a demo table, 3 suits, and a man with a prosthetic leg. Nadine nodded at me. Show them what you showed the world. I did. I demoed our latest adaptive joint socket, designed to auto-balance weight and reduce friction on uneven terrain, without a microprocessor in sight. The man tested it, took 3 steps, stopped, looked up, and started to cry. The room fell silent. That's when one of the suits leaned forward. We've been spending $1.2 million per year on powered solutions that fail under field conditions. You just beat every contract we've got on 1/10 of the budget. Then he added, we want you, nationwide. That day, I signed the biggest contract of my career. Over 5,000 units to be distributed to veterans in remote areas within a year. When I told my team, Miles broke into a happy dance. Rian cried. Miko just patted my shoulder and said, told you. Later that week, I was invited to speak at the Engineering for Equity Summit. On stage, under the lights, I looked out at a packed auditorium. I told the whole story. The betrayal, the sabotage, the grind, the revenge, and I finished with this. Sometimes revenge doesn't come with a bang. Sometimes it comes in the form of a wheelchair that finally doesn't break down in the rain, or a prosthetic knee that doesn't need software updates, or a walker that a grandmother in Zimbabwe can fix herself with a wrench and a rock. That's how you win, not by fighting them in their world, but by building a new one. The crowd stood, applauding, and as I stepped off stage, a small note was pressed into my hand by an old engineer with silver hair. It said, your vision made me believe again, don't stop. I won't, because the best revenge is building something no one can destroy, even if they try.